All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 48 of Web3 Gaming and the Metaverse. We've got another stacked panel for you guys today where we will be discussing all things gaming, metaverse, and blockchain and beyond. So, really excited to jump in. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Frontera. I'm the founder and CEO of Apollo Entertainment, the company behind Satoshiverse and our Satoshi's Legions game. I got involved in the Web3 space back in 2017 and have been doing a deep dive, trying to tread water ever since. Satoshiverse, for those of you who haven't heard of it before or don't know, is a blockchain themed superhero universe. We got our start in, I guess it was October of 2020, when we partnered up with Jose Delbo, who was a 70-year Marvel and DC comic artist, and we did a bunch of really cool comic art releases around our hero, Satoshi the Creator. That evolved into a few different avatar collections and eventually the development of our game that we've been developing now for the last 2 years. The game is a fast-paced hack and slash PC game. A lot of the different components of the game are blockchain enabled, and very soon we're going to be releasing our newest testnet alpha version of the game, which will have all of the blockchain functionality now inside the client, which is something we're very excited about, to start really testing what it would feel like to have a truly blockchain enabled game. So we're super excited about that. I won't spend too much more time on us. If you want to learn more, check out the tweet at the top of the that I've pinned up there. It's got a bunch of information about our Alpha Phase 4, which is going to be open for another couple days, about a week. We just announced on Monday that we're going to be closing it. So there's still time if you want to jump in there. It's open to all, free to play. There's some really cool prizes. So check out the tweet and get involved and try it out. But other than that, we've got an awesome panel that we will go through. And so what we're going to do is we'll start with just some introductions. I'll turn it over to you. Let us know who you are, what the project's about, and any kind of exciting stuff that may be coming. And then what we'll do is we'll turn it over to Spencer, and Spencer will take us through the individual questions and some questions for the group. So that's the format that we do with these. We do it every week on Tuesdays. So if you're checking out the recorded version, feel free to look back at lots of the other awesome panels that we've had and tune in the future. But let's get this started. So let's start with Benjamin from Sequence. Really excited to have you guys here. Really love what you guys are doing. Could you tell us a little bit more about Sequence and yourself? Benjamin, if you're talking or can hear us, I think it's showing up for me that you're actually this is my fault. I take the blame for that one. I had everyone muted. Now you should be able to speak. My bad.
Hello, we hooked up and ready? Okay, I see bars moving. Hi guys, I'm Benjamin with Sequence. Cool to be here. Really appreciate it. I was checking out your game. Super excited for you. It looks really cool. Like the new animations you just released too. So here at Sequence, we built Skyweaver. It's our TCG. We absolutely adore our game. We're a lot of Magic the Gathering players over here in various card games. I hear Snap's pretty popular as well. I come with a gaming background, worked in a studio, worked on as an advisor, some Web3 titles before joining Sequence. And exciting stuff over here is we just rolled out everything that developers need to bring all of the Web3 aspects, the marketplace, everything into the game. So we've bridged the chasm, and now player continuity is through the roof, and you're going to feel like you're playing the real game because you're not having to stop and go find assets or navigate a website. Sequence is right there with you in the gameplay all along. So appreciate being here. We're a game developer first, and we sell the tools that we develop to make our lovely game.
I love it. Well, we had a great call the other day with Sam, and I'm super excited to keep talking to you guys and see what awesome stuff we can do together. So, definitely appreciate you being on. Let's go over to Crypto Dads. I think we've got two from the team, so or maybe even three up here. So feel free to do the introductions how you want, but let's check it out. Yeah.
I'll take the lead. Grill Sergeant here. Real name Shane Adams. I am behind the Crypto Dads account as well, so there's no one actually there. I just brought him on stage because why not? Real short version. Crypto Dads go all the way back to 2021. The massive hype of the NFT bull run. We are dad culture just brought to the blockchain, and we aren't trying to be the coolest, flashiest, the biggest flex, which I think indirectly makes us pretty damn cool. And I've always really identified with the art style, and I think that shows in the art style. And the PFPs are something that I've just personally always loved. One thing that I always need to note, because most people don't know this unless they follow the Crypto Dads, is that myself and my business partners are not the original founders of Crypto Dads. We took it over about a year ago, just over a year ago, actually. So it was already a year in when we took it over. My two partners, I'm very fortunate. They are both developers and very talented. I am not a developer, but I like to think I have some talents that bring some value to the table. And I'll pass it over to Edward, he's like our everything guy. He's our community manager. It just overall just a genuinely like great dude. So a perfect example of like what makes a community like the Crypto Dads so great is without it, I wouldn't know a guy like Edward, and I wouldn't have this great connection in New York City when I go there. Edward, if you're there, you go ahead and take the mic, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Grilly. Grilly definitely summed up the dads. That's what we are. Like you said, we're a bunch of dads navigating the space and figuring out life at the same time, and bringing our Web3 journey, in real life. And we do a lot of things with the community. We're always running games, and we have a daily Rumble. I'll do pop-up games, Gartic Rumbles, just to get everyone kind of having fun. And one thing that we always have had, we still have, bear market, bull market, doesn't matter. We definitely have like one of the greatest communities. Everyone knows each other by first screen name, right? Not first name, but by first screen name. And a lot of people actually have met. We've had some really, really great in real life meetups, and it's just the community's tight, and we're really just a really great group of people.
I love it. Well, so cool to have you guys on. Really excited to dive in and learn more. I love the PFP art too. It's super cool. So definitely cool stuff. I'm not a dad myself just yet, so maybe I'll qualify in the future, and I'll.
You know what though? You don't even. I'd say this all the time. Sorry to just jump in, but you don't even have to be a dad to appreciate like what dad culture is all about and it stands for. If you like the bad jokes, which are also amazing jokes simultaneously somehow, or like cold beer, sports, just competition in general, the smell of charcoal burning, a perfectly manicured lawn. If any of those hit home with you, or you just like the PFP art, then you don't have to be a dad. We've had a lot of non-dads participate and really enjoy it. And we've actually, the cool thing is we've gotten to celebrate over the last couple of years a lot of people that weren't dads that became dads after joining Crypto Dads.
Well, I love it. Yeah, no, all those things definitely resonate with me. So maybe I am secretly a dad, and I should join up.
But I will just jump in real quick. If you do find a dad that you like, or it always helps to kind of look like your dad. So I'll try to pin something up from our NFT NYC last year. But I do have dark hair and a red beard, although I am turning white. My beard's changing. I blame that on the kids. But one thing that we do have is the on-chain dynamic trait changes. So it's kind of cool because people can actually make their crypto dads look more like them through the traits that we have available. So a lot of people don't realize that we were one of the first to do it, and it's just a nice feature because you could actually look like your crypto dad.
That is really cool. I love that. And yeah, on-chain metadata is a really cool thing. Or I'm sorry, dynamic metadata is something that's a really cool thing that we obviously touch on a lot in the gaming side. So they'll definitely love to see it on the art side as well. That's super cool. All right, so why don't we jump to Tovin over at Boring Security. Tell us about what you're building. Give us a quick introduction, and let us know what's going on.
Hello, hello. Thanks everybody for having me. Yeah, my name is Tovin. I'm a contributor over at Boring Security. Joined the team recently this year. Our goal is to be public goods and services for individuals and teams working in the Web3 space to keep their accounts secure, to keep their wallets secure, to keep their communities secure. Everything we do is for free, so you can come and take our classes, come and look at our resources, hang out in the Discord, ask questions to the variety of security people we have in there, all for free at any point. We're funded by various grants and contributions from partners and things like that. And yeah, we do a variety of different classes, starting from the basics of crypto all the way now to actual like sleuthing with partnership. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name now, which is unfortunate. But oh yeah, Intelligence on Chain is a new partner who's doing a sleuthing class with us, which I think is really, really awesome. But that's just kind of one of the things that I do here in crypto. I actually also work for Jadu AR. My title there is a technical community lead. Really, that just means that I develop Discord bots and do a bunch of other coding with regards to kind of a community specific focus. And we have an AR fighting game that you can go grab from the App Store right now that has NFT integrations for our own 3 collections that we've dropped in the past. So we've had a whole history there with regards to like 3D NFT support in AR. In the past, we had a version of our app that supported a couple of, over a dozen 3D collections and 150,000 unique 3D NFTs supported in our AR game. So I'm a little bit all over the place, but excited to be a part of this gaming and metaverse space. I think I'll be able to contribute a little bit here.
Amazing. Well, that's awesome to hear about what you guys are doing on the security side. I mean, I think it's so needed, and to do it for free and to have grants that are funding that, I think is just so important, because I mean you can spend so many hours onboarding someone and teaching them all about Web3 and everything, but the second they get hacked, they're probably not a fan of blockchain for life, and probably telling all their friends to stay away too. So, just being able to make sure that people understand, what owning your keys and what clicking links and connecting your wallet and what all that means is so important. And I think, for me, someone who wasn't really a necessarily tech person or crypto native person, when I got involved and just took an interest, it actually, the more the more I think empowered you feel, right? You start to read what the website is actually asking you to do, because of, in this space, it's kind of a catch-22. You could never connect your wallet to anything, and then you would probably miss out on a lot of really cool experiences that you wouldn't have otherwise had. But you also have to be super careful to, what transactions you do, what approvals you give. So I think it's awesome that you guys are kind of soup to nuts teaching people about security. And then on the other side, J2AR is such a cool and unique concept. I've always been a big fan of what you guys are doing at J2AR. So really, really great to have you here kind of representing both views, and excited to get into the questions. And then why don't we go over to Wizard from Generative Dungeon?
Somebody summon a wizard. Hope everyone's doing well today. Is my mic coming through?
It is. Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, Satoshi Verse, and hi to all the other friends I've seen in here. Seen you guys around. I know who you are. I follow you. You may not know it. I'm the wizard from Generative Dungeon. Give you guys a real quick introduction to Generative Dungeon. Go to OpenSea, click on an NFT, and play it. There you go. but I could go a little deeper. All right, so Generative Dungeon's been around for a while. We did our first release, not our mint, our first release back in October 2021. We released 9 playable full game RPGs that can be played directly on OpenSea. Kind of cool, right? Well, we're not going to stop there. We are gamers. We love the future of gaming, and just so happens we're in Web3 too. Da, 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 da. All things come good from here on in. So after our first release, we didn't think that just having a playable NFT was good enough. I mean, it's kind of cool, right? But can we make it better? Damn straight we can. We made it editable. You go into your game, you can edit your own game, put your own lore in, put more monsters in to terrorize your friends, put less monsters in there to keep the kids out of your hair for a while. Or in general, you could just make your own metaverse in there, because that's what each NFT really is. It's a NFT, it's playable, it's editable, it comes with a character, it comes with its own land. Well, you have a mini metaverse at your disposal, all in an NFT. No, that's not enough. We need more. What's next? Okay, so we brought out a 2x PFP with pixelated and an animated side to it. There's also its own audio soundtrack that goes with it, or your song theme. Each one has its own. All the avatars are unique. And to make it a little bit cooler, in the top right-hand corner, there's a button. It looks like a sword. You click that sword, and you enter into a battle royale versus up to 32 players on OpenSea. Kind of fun, right? We need more. All right, we'll take that same avatar, and you can play it in the original dungeon. Now, that's kind of cool too, right? You can now play as all these new characters, but we need more. We need more. If I haven't grasped you yet, how about we get an expansion that you can put on top of that turn-based single-player NFT and turn it into a multiplayer up to 8 players Unreal Engine 5 3D game. Full expansion, your edited dungeon now in 3D. Oh, with generative dungeon ordinals and all the extra stuff we've come in, I think that's more than enough time for me to steal from the stage. So thanks, guys. I'll back off now.
That sounds awesome. Really, really cool. Really great to have you. I would encourage not just for everyone to check out these projects, but dive in, check out what they're building, and make sure to follow all of the speakers and learn more. On that note, just a bit of housekeeping. I realize that I've been the only one who has posted up to the top of the Twitter Spaces. So I will say, if you've got anything representative, video, a cool trailer, something coming up, please feel free to pin that tweet to the top of the Spaces. If you don't know how to do that, it's just there's a little up arrow on the bottom right-hand corner of the tweet, and it'll say share to Spaces at the top. So if you do that, everyone will get to see it, and we'll be able to learn more, because I think pictures worth 1,000 words, and videos a little more than that, I think. So go ahead and share what you can. All right, so now let's move into the meat of this. Spencer, take it away.
Awesome, thanks, Nick. Nick, my name is Spencer Vogel. I'm the business development manager here at Apollo Entertainment and the Satoshiverse. I'm going to be asking the questions today. So before we get into the questions here, for everyone listening, we're going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the space. So make sure you stick around to win one of our Satoshiverse collectibles. So first, we're going to do a question for everyone in the group. I'll call on someone to start, and then feel free to just jump into the conversation whenever you feel free, or whenever you see fit. And then we'll move into some individual questions, and then potentially some more everyone questions at the end if we have some time. So to start us off, maybe Ben, you could start us for this first one. So how do we overcome some of the financial exclusivity in the Web3 space to make games and platforms accessible and affordable for everyone worldwide? Ben, we're not hearing you if you're talking right now.
Sorry about that. First of all, we've got to get realistic about what we're offering. In the current landscape, people talk a lot about Web 2 and Web 3. I think that's a step in the wrong direction. Hopefully all of us are game developers. And the situation of separating ourselves out and making ourselves different is a step in the direction of excluding the mass audiences that we're trying to talk to. If you want to be mainstream, you need to solve mainstream problems. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck around, all around America and around the world. So I'm not going to approach them and ask them to spend $200 on a game character, on a game that is currently only selling t-shirts on its website, right? I mean, we don't have a value proposition for the vast majority of these prices that we're seeing, and that's exclusion. And another thing is we have to hold people accountable for the bad things that are happening in the space. The other day when Sam got convicted, I went to LinkedIn and didn't see anybody saying, yeah, throw him in jail. He's a criminal, right? He got convicted. We have to stand up and show the gaming community and the internet at large, right? Because the internet's about to change and people don't understand how the internet works now. And they're terrified of what's coming with blockchain because all they see is bad things. I say we have a painfully accurate perception in the vast markets in that we have not done a good job policing our own, and we've set up a situation that's very exclusive and very siloed. And the solution to that has been, well, we'll just make games. Well, if you're going to do that, you should make real games. Where, by and large, the industry's been turning out shovelware, which is an older term that I hope I didn't just date myself with. But the get down of it is you have to give people a reason. You have to show them that it's safe. You have to give them a story to return with. If they come back from playing a Metaverse game and they're like, yeah, nothing looked right, the lighting was off, everything's just terrible, this is a problem. Versus what we do here at Sequence is we go back to the fundamentals. Why don't we have this in Web3 gaming? Okay, we don't make that yet, or we don't make that. Who does? So we go out and we find partners and we stand with them. We have a company called Crypto Loops, and they've made something called the MCC. It's a module character creator based on Unreal Engine 5. Also can work in Unity, and they're looking at Godot. So the get down is this, is that we have all these randomly generated NFTs. We have X, Y, and Z. Oh, you can change them. Yeah, but you're not creating anything. You're not making a character. If you want to break down walls to massive adoption, you have to give gamers stuff they already have. So the guys at Crypto Loops, they made a character creator. You send them a model, they can manipulate it. Mesh is going to be just fine. Your texture coordinates, all your materials are going to export just fine. And it's an NFT. So let's start with where gamers are at already, right? They can already make characters. Let's break down some walls by just getting up to speed with where they're at. And then we can reassess our value proposition by saying, look, these are real games. The metaverse is a buzzword. Here are gaming ecosystems with games that are planned to work together and have long-term plans with each other. That's a meta world. That's a hub. That's a character that I'd get invested in over the next 15 years as if I were still riding around on my Spectral Tiger and WoW. So I think we need to really think about how we talk to people. All of our terminology needs to be scrubbed and redone, but we have to break down barriers by meeting the mass majority of people where they're at. Sorry, that's a long-winded answer, but I just think there's a lot of points to this problem, and we need to police our own along the way.
Yep.
Oh, I'm done.
I already forgot. I forgot what the original question was, but that was really good, Benjamin. And let me preface anything I say by mentioning that myself, Crypto Dads, we are not game developers. We have relationships with a lot of game developers, and of course have a lot of gamers in the community. But Web3 gaming or blockchain gaming is something that is definitely very interesting to me. And I mean, you mentioned, I think you ended it with saying we need to meet gamers where they're at. Well, where they're at is either buying $70 AAA games that are, well, I was going to say they're like nice finished products. A lot of them have bugs when they first come out. So, maybe a few bugs at the beginning, but either delivering a title that is like that, where they don't even know, but it's probably going to happen through a free-to-play game, is probably going to be the first like breakthrough for blockchain gaming, I think. And it's not going to be selling like these super expensive assets, but I mean, traditional gaming's already shown that people will pay big money for some unique item, and so we know that's going to be an element of it. But I think it just needs to be a lot more smaller transactions, smaller dollar amounts. Like NFTs shouldn't all be in the thousands of dollars in this world. It should be there's a lot of stuff that people just think is cool that they can buy for $5 or $10, but none of it's going to matter or even be important or relevant until there's a game that's a smash hit. And then I think once one game breaks through, then it will open the doors, because right now, you go to your average gamer and they're just like, they hear NFT or blockchain and they're like, get the fuck out of my face with that.
Yeah. And NFT stands for no fucking thank you. We lost that branding war. It's over.
It's horrendous. I've never seen something be like deep down, if they really understood it. And I've played games and I'm like, man, I wish this item was an NFT. I would love this game so much more if I really owned this item. And it's such a really, it's giving a lot more freedom to gamers, but they don't realize it because the scam drum has been pounded so hard, and some of it rightfully so, right? It's, some of it has been a scam. But until a game actually breaks through that and gives everyone in gaming that aha moment where they're like, wow, this is really cool. Well, then until then, nobody's going to win.
We're real close. We're working with some teams that are real close. So there's going to be a lot of announcements coming up with partnerships, and we're on the hunt. We're actively looking for real games all the time.
I'd love to comment on this real quick. I know this is just our first question, but we kind of released publicly to the App Store less than a month ago at this point, and all of our user acquisition and stuff like that is targeting your mainstream, your average player. We're not running ads on Twitter. We're not targeting crypto audience. We're specifically running ads on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Instagram, and we're getting teenage boys and girls who want to play mobile games. And the way we've achieved this is exactly what Ben is saying, very close attention to our branding, to our language, to our messaging, to our user flows, from the perspective of the mainstream challenges, a mainstream audience, a more generic mobile game title where I can't have my game be wallet gated on launch, because then I'm going to spend $100,000 and get 3 users from TikTok that are comfortable with crypto. So our kind of approach at the moment, which is kind of, the unique landscape we're in, is the Apple App Store is very specific about their release policies with regards to NFT gated content and wallet connections and transferings and things like that. So we're not only limited by user acquisition costs, but we're also limited by our platform publishment. We cannot do what we had in the past where, there were dozens of 3D NFT collections supported in our app with wallet connection gating. Apple straight up told us we couldn't do that unless we allowed people to buy those NFTs in our app and gave Apple their 30%. So there's a variety of challenges here with regards to accessibility that not only has to do with that branding and that messaging and making sure people understand what your proposal is, but also, at least for the mobile game sphere, platforms that are, required to publish your game. Without the Apple App Store, we don't exist, basically. We have to play by their rules for now. So despite the fact that we have, 80,000 users in the past couple of weeks from our TikTok and Snapchat ads or whatever, we're still limited with what we can do with regards to the Web3 sphere. So we're playing it really slow, building out our game to be the best game possible. And then, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, we'll have to reassess just how much we can kind of work backwards and add these features to really make the game, like you were saying, take advantage of the fact that players should actually own their items and not just have the situation of we are building our own character creator, for example, like you were saying. That's one of the main things that's attracting people. You get to build your own character in AR, but none of that is NFTs, because handling that on mobile with Apple's requirements is just not really possible. Even if we abstract it away and add, non-custodial wallets and shit like that, that is a technological barrier and an Apple App Store policy barrier that we cannot cross right now. So
we should talk.
Yeah, no, we should for
there's
sure.
So one of the things you guys have been saying, wallet gating. So wallets really need to, in the mainstream, wallets are a barrier, because as we know now, we have to double check a lot of things before we even know if we can interact with this content. we just released a sequence kit where you've got crypto natives, cool. They want to use any wallet, that's cool. We can accommodate that. You want a new wallet with just a social login, no keys, right? Like, why do people still have how many word phrase keys? You don't need that. You can just sign in with your Google account, and the vast majority of people trust that stuff already. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Nothing is. But you can meet them where they're at and improve. You can say yes, and I'm going to make this simple for you with your Google account, your Apple account, log in. You don't need to worry about stuff like keys. You don't need to learn that new terminology. And then, follow up with all the security that everything offers. And then people will start asking questions like, well, what else can this do? Oh, well, it could help bank half of Africa and redistribute wealth accordingly and fairly. And then people are like, okay, let's talk about that. It's interesting. So we're at a cusp here where the internet is about to evolve again, obviously. And whoever gets control of that is going to have even more power than what they have now. So a bunch of people who were using 1920s laws, who have no idea how the internet works in the first place, are in Washington making laws that are just absurd. They're making decisions, right? And if the wrong people get control of this, that is where we're going to lose a major opportunity, not just for gamers, but to solve mainstream problems by cutting out middlemen who are making money by just doing busy work in the middle that we can just solve with technology. You make that case to them, I think you'll escalate the discussion.
Yeah, I think I largely agree with everything that was just said. I think there were some really, really great points. And I think just kind of from our perspective, I do think it is important that we at least recognize the differences, though we may back end them, though we may, not lead with that in marketing materials. It is different to make a blockchain-enabled game than it is to make a Web2 game for a lot of different game genres. I know that for our game, one of the, whether it was Web3 or Web2, we had to deal with and really build around the concept of an open player economy. The fact that there would be items that would be freely transferable that would then be able to be used to either power up or progress further or whatever it might be. So, I grew up on games like Diablo, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, games where almost all of that quote unquote player economy that was open happened in kind of black market situations, so that the developers could kind of always wipe their hands clean. Should it break the game? Should there be a pay to win component? And I know that we had to think very long and hard about how do we create a gameplay loop, a progression system, an item, progression system that accommodates the fact that people will be able to purchase these items freely on the blockchain, send them to their friends, and actually own them. And what does that mean to build a game that, has an open player economy? And so we made a lot of very deliberate decisions that probably limit, I think, some of the aspects of, our game in terms of, RPG elements where if every item's an NFT and some of them become obsolete and can be purchased super quickly or earned super quickly at a higher level, well, then you got to think about, okay, is that going to ruin the lower level experience when I can purchase a cool item for 1 cent or the equivalent? And I've bought into that. So I don't know, I think it's interesting. And I think developing and designing our game has been very, I guess, insightful in terms of how I think blockchain games in general will continue to exist. I think if you took blockchain and put it into World of Warcraft, you'd probably break the game. And I think that, if you had a completely decentralized player economy in Diablo, you'd probably break the game. In fact, Diablo 4, they pulled back a ton from an open player economy and did that very deliberately with maybe one of the most known titles that actually featured, an open player economy in the real money auction house, which every gamer on the planet hated and said, hey, this was a horrible thing. So I think there's some real challenges there. because I think the value prop of NFTs, at least within games, is that ownership aspect. I think there's some cool interoperability angles as well, but I think the predominant value prop is ownership and openness to transferability, right? I think that's the key that continues to get pounded. But in order to do that effectively, unless it's just aesthetics, right, which is another option, you have skins and things like that people just like to look cool in a multiplayer game. Totally works, makes sense. Very good use case of NFTs. Or you have more of like a TCG setting, which is emulating kind of a collectability environment. I think there's some real challenges in incorporating open player economies and NFTs into a lot of games. And you have to be very deliberate about the design. And so, yeah, I guess for me, I mean, kind of tying that back to the question, it doesn't need to be exclusive or financially unaffordable, but you do need a business model that works and doesn't break the game, right? So you have to put a lot of thought into the design of the game and how NFTs are going to be implemented. I don't think it's just going to be, all right, we have a great game, now let's figure out how to use NFTs. You kind of need to be knowing that, I think, from the very beginning for a big subset of games, that are Web3 enabled.
I think every game should be aware of its economy and its game design doc. If you've not got that sorted out. By the way, are you using Machinations at all? Are you working with them?
We're not, no.
Okay. If you have any interest in really good simulation with token flow through a game economy, I'm working with a team that has been doing that for some time. And they're actually a licensed provider to where they could make introductions for you. They can actually do the service work if you're interested. Just let me know.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's definitely connect after. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing they do.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Does anybody else have any contributes? I feel like I kind of sucked the oxygen out of the call.
I was actually just because
in
in the interest of time. Yeah, just in the interest of time, I was going to move us on to individual questions here, just so we can, give everybody a chance here to talk about everything they're working on here. So moving on to our first individual question, maybe Wizard, I'll have you start off on yours since we haven't heard from you in a little bit. So all generative dungeon games and extensions are totally free to play. So I was wondering, why do you think it's important for Web3 games to have a free to play option?
Well, let's say you were going to play any game. What's the first thing that's going to grab your attention? The absolute first thing. It's the image, right? Then the next thing is going to be, how easy is it for you to go from A to B? I want to play. That's important. So having something free in Web3, I mean, why not? Does everything need to be charged? We started this project out of pure love. I started into NFTs again. I backed away from. I had no interest. I was waiting for the utility. So I was a patient guy. I followed it for several years, listened to LEO trades, and went, yeah, it's not at where I want it yet. I'll know when I want to get into NFTs. Wendio states, hey, there's a playable NFT. And when I'm in, I got to find this guy. So I went and found Dungeon Master. And from there, it was I found out he had the same sort of mentality I did. He didn't care about the money. The aim is we want to put a game out there using NFTs that's freaking awesome that people can own. And we kept it as simple as that. So how do we get people on? Well, you give them a free game. You can jump into any generative dungeon that's unlocked by the owner. If every single owner decided to lock them all, I guarantee Dungeon 100 will be open forever. I do updates on it. The game gets bigger all the time. It's got 197 levels on it. I've edited in about 22 with an aim to get to 100 by the end of next year. So it's an ever-growing game that anyone can get into. And each time you play it, I might have made changes. I might have hidden a key somewhere else just for a laugh. For the new guy coming in, it's nothing special. But the guy that's been jumping in this game for events for the last year or two that I've been putting him on, he goes in there and now he's stuck. The challenge is on, and I can do that. It's my game. It's any owner can do that. It's their game. So you as the owner can deliver to the world how you want. Do you want to leave it unlocked or locked? But if you jump on OpenSea, most of them that aren't held by owners, you'll probably find they're unlocked or they've been locked by an owner that forgot to unlock it. No big deal. Once you own it, you can unlock it yourself. And the same for Quest too. The important part of that is when you go into Web3 as a new guy, it's complicated. Let's start with crypto. Okay, you got a little bit of a complicated step from there. So we need to avoid that. Well, next thing is we want it to be Web3 and Web2 at the same time. How can we get everyone on as easily as possible? Well, look at any game that's got an in-game currency. They've got their own token in the game. Well, we've got a token. We can put that into the game. All right, now let's just use that as in-game currency. The only way you can get it is by exchanging your gold and purchasing it that you earn in the game or whatever. So now you can take your in-game gold, turn it into our token, and it's still an in-game wallet. It hasn't gone anywhere. But as you learn the game more and you start reading into our information, because we all know no one likes to read, they wait for the videos or for it to be announced or their friend to tell them. They're going to want to say, okay, I like this sword. I've got this DNG here. The transactions are free. How do I make this wallet? Okay, I read this. Now, you've just sort of gently brought them into Web3. Now, it's not just the game we want to bring into the future of this world. You know, we want people to come into Web3. We want them to come into the game as well. We want them to enjoy it. We want them to stick around. We want them to create their own events, etc. So we need to give the owners freedom, and we need to give the players lots of ease into the play. So I hope it wasn't too dragged out, but yeah, there's a huge importance in some projects, not all, where having a free game is perfect, whereas other projects, you know, it might be a little bit different.
Yeah, well said.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Next individual question here. I'll throw it over to the Crypto Dads guys, and I'll let you guys decide how you want to split it up between the two of you. But Crypto Dads has done a great job of bridging digital and physical with IRL collaborations with companies like Dr. Squatch Soap and Swampwater Brewing. Do you think it's important to bring digitally native IP into the physical world, and why?
Yeah, I'll take that, and then Edward, if you have anything you want to add. Well, I mean, if anyone's listened to Luca Netz, who is obviously the biggest name and the one doing it the best, bringing NFT branding into the physical world, and I always have agreed with him even before I heard him talking about it, and the idea of, you know, pudgy toys, right? Well, a lot of people have said, the naysayers have said, well, what does that do for holders? But brand recognition is brand recognition regardless of how you're getting it. So like, I jumped at the opportunity to do something with Swampwater, because even if somebody has no idea what a crypto dad is, but they see it on that can of beer and they think, oh, that artwork's pretty cool, and that's something that makes them want to buy and try the beer, right? I don't care if there's a way that it points them to an NFT purchase or anything like that. We don't necessarily need that. What that does is it proves the idea, though, that the brand and the IP actually has some value to it beyond just a PFP, right? And that there are other use cases for it other than just a PFP. And you could never have your brand out there unless, you know, it's getting drugged through the mud. You can never have it out there too much. Like, that's impossible. I come from the business world. You know, that kind of like marketing, and you're getting it, you know, basically for free or even profiting off of selling a product. Like, I don't see how anyone could see anything negative about that.
Awesome. Edward, do you have anything you wanted to add to that, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes total sense, right? I mean, anytime that you can get your brand out there. But I always look at it as, you know, there's onboarding also. Like, and I 100% agree with what, you know, Bill Sargent said. It doesn't really matter whether or not you buy, you know, one of our NFTs, but it's more about the onboarding into the space overall, right? Because the more young people, we were talking about the people in government that don't get it, that are stuck in old money. But if we can bring the younger people on and do this onboarding with, you know, in real life items, Web2 things, like, it putting the brand out there, and it's just going to raise more awareness for people to walk into their local 7-Eleven, see Swampwater beer with, you know, Crypto Dad's IPA on it. Like, that's effing cool, you know? and then you get a young dad who's probably got, you know, I've always said it. I got 2 kids. I don't know about everyone else here, but if you ever want to protect your beer and you don't have your kids in your car, Grilly, where does it go? Got his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to take it back to talking collectibles, Edward. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what I was. Well, I was throwing it out at you, giving you the alley-oop.
You were like, beer, where does it go? And the first thing I thought was like, in my mouth, in my belly. Like, what are we talking about?
Right in the
But no,
car seat.
What?
the
Could I jump in for one
the
moment? I've just
yeah.
got to say too. So picture this: what does a dad do once he's cracked that beer? He plays a game, he watches sports, he hangs out with his mates, right?
Yeah.
So what could make a beer with an NFT of a crypto dad on it even cooler?
2 beers with crypto dads on them.
Ooh. Okay. Now what could make just 2 beers even cooler?
Are you talking about? I feel like you're bringing this back to the gaming world by saying some sort of like QR code where you could scan it and come back to a game.
Now you're
Yeah,
talking
scan it, get the
hidden on,
character.
yeah, hidden on the dad's shirt is a QR code. And for the odd dad that looks at the image and goes, "What's that?" and he does scan it, he suddenly plays a game with the potential, if he's in
Love
Web3,
that.
to play as a
Yeah.
crypto dad.
Right. And there's your onboarding, right? You're sitting there having a beer and you got four guys with you hanging around, whatever, watching the game, and all of a sudden you're all engulfed in some kind of, game together, right? I mean, that's, yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
so here's another huge part of it that goes back to the whole idea of like, how does this benefit a holder of an NFT or specifically a holder that potentially at some point wants to sell their NFT? Well, the collectibles market is a market that will and should get disrupted by the technology blockchain, right? And it's a massive market. I just looked it up, $462 billion in 2023. And the part of that is NFTs is like just a little teeny tiny piece of the pie. And again, going back to like my business roots, I see a pie where we have such a small piece of it, and that gets me excited. That gets me thinking, well, geez, even if we capture, 2% more, well, like we're so far beyond where we are right now, right? And ultimately, with everything moving digital, you have to believe that it'll go more and more and more and take up a bigger piece of that pie. Well, if you've got a brand like Crypto Dads that is now identified by the normie world, there are going to be some collectors in there that will eventually make the move to the digital collectible world. And if they've identified and connected with a brand or a certain type of art already through some other connection, then what one are they going to look at first? Pudgy penguins are everywhere, and the kid that had one as a kid 10 years from now is wanting to buy a digital collectible, or their parents are going to get them one for Christmas or something like that. They're going to look at Pudgies before anything else because they've already owned something Pudgy related. And if the dad makes this jump to the digital world and he drank one of our beers with swamp water, he's probably going to look at Crypto Dads first before anything else. And all that's going to do is drive demand, and demand creates increased values. And then if somebody does want to sell for a higher value, that's how it all works.
Awesome. Love the conversation on this. So Tovin, next question I wanted to ask for you. So what do you think are some of the most important things Web3 gamers should be thinking about right now from a security standpoint to keep their assets safe?
So this is a relatively complicated question that takes into account, what are the responsibilities the user has, what are the responsibilities the game developers have, and lastly, one that I think not a lot of people really consider when we're talking about security in general is like, what are the responsibilities the whole space has with regards to asset security, user experiences, tooling, and education as a whole, right? But let's just talk about from the gamer's perspective here for a second. As we've been kind of talking the entire time, the technology that we're using, that we're kind of hoping has this bright future ahead of us, is all relatively still pretty new. Still has a lot of technical hurdles, still challenging to onboard people into, still requires you to understand what the hex data that you're looking at means, still requires you to do a million things that are just, we've been talking about this a lot at Jadu in terms of, user retention and at what point of the onboarding process people drop off. And if we're looking at those kind of statistics for crypto or Web3 gaming as a whole, trying to onboard somebody new into this kind of ecosystem, your drop-off rate is really, really insane, really crazy. And even worse, you probably lose people permanently the moment they get scammed or the moment they lose items. So looking at it from the perspective of a gamer in November of 2023 that's trying to get into Web3 gaming, you know, one of the first things you have to do is educate yourself, right? You need to understand what your wallet is doing. You need to understand how your tokens work. You need to understand what signatures are and how that kind of process works. And unfortunately, that's a lot of things to learn. That's a lot of things to understand the complexity on. And, you know, if you don't have that support, if you don't have resources like Boring Security or somebody that has already been in Web3 that you can talk through these things with, that becomes really, really difficult. And so that's where I think, you know, the game developer responsibilities come into play, where you will see people allowing you to use things like Warm or wallet delegation in general, which adds a layer of security, but also a layer of complexity. You know, the user experience of, let me sign up for this game. I need a wallet. I have an NFT, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they support wallet delegation. Let me go Google what wallet delegation is. Let me figure out how this works. Oh, I have to interact with a smart contract to set up wallet delegation. Oh, now I need a vault wallet and to move my ass. Like, there's so many steps, even as we are trying to improve user experience, even as we are talking about account abstraction and, you know, non-custodial wallets. Like, sure, you can abstract away every element of the Web3 process from the end user to get them to onboard easier. But does that actually improve their user experience overall? Does that actually make your game better? Does the user experience at the end of the day, is it actually any better than if you just didn't have any Web3 things to begin with? Or, you know, if you are doing fully non-custodial and you also allow users to extract those assets out of non-custodial, will your average user be able to figure out how to use that properly and, you know, be able to leverage that feature that is supposed to be a relatively big part of this to its fullest extent? So it was a long-winded answer to say, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, all that stuff is solved. I mean, it's just a notion of, are we expecting billions of people to learn our tech, or do we need to refine it to a point where they don't even notice it, right? Like, people I still hear the term seed phrases, and it just blows my mind, right? Like, you want the mass adoption of a technology that is this antiquated, and you want people to learn, not you personally, but us as an industry.
Yeah.
We need everybody to learn all these new terms and these new tools. No, you don't. I mean, that is for the people selling those tools. Yeah, you need to learn them. But for the people who are past that, right? Account extraction is where we started, right? So coming to us with anything else but a Gmail or an Apple account is overkill. And when you get into the experience, it's like, okay, you don't like the wallet the way it is? Okay, well, it's not a wallet anymore. It's an armory. Oh, it's also inside your game. And we have refined everything down to just button clicks for you, 2 to 3. You're buying currency in the wallet just like you do on Xbox Live. It's just a new game tool, right? When we try to separate ourselves out as this revolutionary force, Havoc as a physics engine is amazing, right? But they're not out there telling every gamer in the world that, oh, we're just bringing it all. We are the reason for the next generation of games, like the blockchain people do. I think if we refine and humble ourselves a little bit and say, yes, we are the next generation of tool makers. You want good games? Use good tools and hire good people with good intentions. And then take all the stuff you just described, which is super important. And I barely understood it, and I respect you for understanding it. Put that behind the curtain, right? Let's find a way to just get them to say, oh, I can use my Gmail account. And they're just playing a game. They're not playing a Web3 game. They're not playing anything else but a game. And they're using their Xbox login hopefully soon, or their PSN network login. Let's aim for that instead of asking most people in the country who don't understand how the internet works now to learn a bunch of new stuff. And I think that there's so much that's been accomplished, but we're still in an engineering mindset. And I love engineers. I love speaking to them. They're fascinating, but they can be very frustrating because they have such intricate understanding of the technology and why everything is important. And it's like, okay, I just need to know how to press 2 buttons in it. And then I will make you $1 million with mass adoption, right? Help me make it simple. And I think that's where the people on this call come in, is like, when we're out there talking to game developers, when we're given presentations, are we listening to the feedback of, hey, I've noticed this has been major improvements, or hey, this is still a big problem? These are the types of things that I think we need to check ourselves on and make sure we're not getting too ahead in the clouds. Like, I was astounded the other day to find out that we still have a problem where people can just drop stuff in your wallet with nothing to stop them. That's incredible to me. Like, this is the type of things where it's like, okay, that's like old email stuff. We need to be past that, right? So solving problems and bringing functionality to Web3, we should address a lot of problems that are already here. And I think that will help a lot with mass adoption. I think we just walk right past a lot of everyday challenges people have while interacting with the internet. And it's costing them a lot of money, right? If we don't get rid of these bad actors along the way and streamline all this stuff through blockchain, people are just going to continue to lose money in new ways as people figure out how to just do cash abstraction machines. But I just think the security, it's so fascinating. But to me, as if I was outside of this industry, it's like, I'm not going to learn all that, right? I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, no,
So.
absolutely. And so, like, just to wrap up my point, I think currently, right now, if you are playing an average Web3 game, you do need to learn all of these things. Because as much as people like Ben and the company he works for exists, where this account abstraction and all of these amazing ways to make the user experience a million times better exist, we're not really using them at scale. Like, Yuga's games are not a mainstream audience game. Other Side is probably going to have some level of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first year of Other Side is completely locked to a purely Web3 audience before they enable account abstraction, social login, and all this kind of stuff. So just, the question is, what are the most important things gamers, Web3 gamers need to be thinking about right now to keep your assets safe? You need to learn how the blockchain works. Until it gets to the point where every single game you're playing has account abstraction